Severance Season 2, Episode 2 is here, and wow, what an episode. What's up with Cobelvig? What could Cold Harbor mean? And let's be honest, all my theories from Episode 1 can go straight into the trash because I was way off. Now today, I'll recap the episode and share a few new theories. Hopefully, less wrong this time. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and without further ado, let's get into it.
They torture us down there! Damn it! Please! We're prisoners! She's alive!
Now, Episode 2 brings us to the aftermath of the Season 1 finale, giving us a long-awaited look at the Audis' lives. The episode picks up immediately after the events of the overtime contingency. Mark reawakens at the party with his innie no longer in control. Devon, his sister, quickly realizes that he's back to being his Audi self. As the guests leave, Devon confronts Mark about his "she's alive" outburst. Rickon and Mark and Devon kind of conclude that he must have been referring to her baby, Eleanor. However, there are still doubts hanging in the air, especially for Devon. Meanwhile, Helena faces harsh criticism from her father for her innie's outburst during the Lumon Gala. As damage control unfolds, Helena meets with Harmony Cobel, apologizing for how Lumon has treated her and offering her a return to the company with a promotion to head the new Severance Advisory Council, whatever that might be, honestly. Cobel, however, is insulted and demands her old position running the severed floor, only to find out that Milchik has been promoted. Helena then records an apology video blaming her innie's behavior on alcohol mixed with non-Lumon medication, while asserting Lumon's commitment to stability. Milchik, tasked with cleaning up the mess, visits Dylan and Irving's Audis. Dylan is fired, with Milchik claiming he was involved in a violent altercation. Irving, on the other hand, was also fired, but he lies about his whereabouts and tries to avoid any kind of suspicion. Dylan later attempts to move on, interviewing at a door manufacturing company, but his severed status leads to immediate discrimination and rejection. Frustrated and defeated, Dylan informs his wife, Gretchen, of the situation. Now Mark meets Devon at Pip's, where she brings up the possibility that his innie may have been referring to Gemma, his supposedly deceased wife. Mark denies this, reminding Devon that he saw her body, he identified it. Their argument grows and Mark storms out, unaware that Lumon's enforcer, Mr. Drummond, is eavesdropping on their conversation. Later, Irving makes a mysterious call from a payphone, leaving a cryptic message that his innie got the message. What Irving doesn't know, though, while he's making this call, is Bert is watching him from his car, but the two do not interact. Meanwhile, Helena reviews footage of her innie and Mark kissing, and her reaction is inscrutable. Back home, Mark gets a surprise visit from Milchik, who tries to persuade him to return to Lumon. Milchik offers a 20% raise, promises reforms, and even hints at a thorough investigation into his innie's claims. Milchik then uses a more personal tactic, a pineapple. I know, guys, but no, not the pineapple. He reminds Mark of his grief and states that his innie has found happiness and even love at work. Mark reluctantly returns to Lumon, where Milchik, within 48 hours of this whole mess, scrambles to reassemble the macro data refinement team. The board approves Mark's request that we've seen in Episode 1, and Dylan, Irving, and Helena are all reinstated. The episode ends on a very tense note. Mark finally confronts Cobel as she moves out of her house, demanding answers about her lies and asking if she knows something about Gemma. And Cobel doesn't answer directly, but her long pause and emotional reaction suggest she knows far more than she's letting on. Now, in an uncharacteristic outburst, Cobel screams and honks her horn to make her escape, leaving Mark both shaken and frustrated. Now, this video isn't going to be super theory heavy, but there are a few things I just have to mention specifically about Cobel, or as Rickon dubbed her, Cobelvig. And this is where exactly I got myself thinking. Now, while doing research for this video, I of course stumbled upon a Reddit user, Chihuahua Corn. I'm gonna say that's how you pronounce it. I do not know. Now, they had a very interesting theory that I couldn't disagree with, and it provided me that missing knowledge and those dots that I needed to connect it for myself. So I will just say that this is their theory, but I do stand behind their theory. Now, we know that there was a child born to two innies at some point in Lumon's history.
But what are you saying, Natalie, to the woman who became pregnant at work less than a month after her company went severed?
Well, first, I'd suggest you reveal her identity if she wants to have an honest conversation about her
How
experience.
could she have that conversation when her workie was the one
Okay,
involved
first
in the
of all,
conception?
working?
That, as I understand, is the preferred term
I
among...
think it's exactly the condescending verbiage that I'd expect from a group trying to save people from their own choices.
Choices. Did her INSI have a choice?
And where are you getting these terms?
Fine, call it someone who's had their brain split in half. If
That has
makes
nothing
you
to do with what we do at Lumon, nor any severance procedure.
I understand you don't want to answer my question.
No, I'm
because
answering your
it'll
question.
reveal that you are complicit in something totally immoral.
What's immoral is taking away...
What if this child is Cobel? According to this theory, Cobel's mother was Charlotte Cobel, and her father might have had the last name Selvig, hence her use of both names. Or her full name might have been Harmony Cobel Selvig. Since abortion wasn't legal until 1973, Charlotte Cobel's Audi would have been forced to carry her pregnancy to term, and after Harmony was born, she could have been handed over to the Myrtle Egan School for Girls, which may have been created for this purpose. Cobel was fully indoctrinated there, becoming a devout Keir follower, transitioning seamlessly from being an exemplary student to a model Lumon employee. At some point in her adult life, the Reddit user suggests, Cobel experiences a traumatic accident that leaves her on life support. The shrine we've seen could hold clues about this, like the breathing tube, which might have been hers, suggesting she underwent a tracheotomy. The hospital bracelet could belong to her mother from when she was born, or symbolize her pre-severance life. The theory goes that Cobel's injuries left her brain dead, and Lumon saved her by giving her a permanent severance implant, similar to what many believe happened to Gemma, Miss Casey. Now, because Cobel was always loyal to Lumon, they allowed her to live out in the world as a permanent innie. But here's where it gets interesting. Cobel might be obsessed with reintegration because she's desperate to remember her life before severance. There's also speculation about Cobel's department history, specifically her being labeled as Harmony S in the security room under the department D&R, disposal and reclamation. This department could be responsible for reclaiming bodies of deceased or nearly deceased employees to make them permanently severed, which would explain her knowledge of Lumon's darker operations. Now, regarding her ability to use the unsevered elevator, some say this proves she isn't severed, but if she's a permanent innie, the elevator wouldn't affect her trip anyway. However, nothing is confirmed, and the opening title sequence raises even more questions, like why we see Miss Cobel's face opening with Mark inside, almost as if she's always been watching him. What does that mean? Did she accept Helena's offer to join the Severance Advisory Council? If so, what's her role now? One of the most striking moments in the episode is when Cobel tells Helena, "You don't value me, you fear me." And Helena says, "We don't fear anyone," but it feels like they kind of do. Just a little bit. This is me speculating, completely speculating. That's the feeling that I got from it.
You don't value me. You fear me. We fear no one.
Now, this raised another question. Why would Lumon or Helena fear Cobel? Is it because of her deep knowledge of Lumon's secrets, or is it something more personal? Does Cobel know something about Helena's own severance process? While this theory might be reaching, it really does add depth to Cobel's character. If Cobel is a permanent innie, it could explain her devotion to Kier, her obsession with reintegration, and her unsettling presence throughout the series. Let me know what you think about this one in particular, because this is a very interesting theory. Now, regarding Miss Casey and Gemma, I have seen that the cast have disproved this theory a lot, that it's nothing to do with cloning.
At SCDSCO, which for me is Skudsko, says,
Lumon's purpose is human cloning.
this sounds like what Lumon would be doing in like a super boring version of Severance.
Funny, you should ask that. Why, you're on the trail, son. No, I'm just kidding. You are very far off and wrong. Bing!
And you know, the more I looked into it, the more I understood where I was wrong. Now, we see at the end of episode 1 where Mark is working on the file named Cold Harbor, right? And he's categorizing the numbers into 4 containers, as we know: woe, frolic, dread, and malice. What I think is happening, and I do believe there is a discussion about this too, is that in a way they are making Miss Casey, Gemma, the perfect, refined Lumon employee. This kind of ties back to Miss Cobel. Could Lumon be doing the same thing that they did to Miss Cobel to get that same exact devotion? Now, another theory I have, or rather a question I have, is about Mark. Is Mark going to reintegrate like Petey did? Now, my reason for thinking this, or even questioning this, comes from the opening title sequence of Severance Season 2. We see a lot of imagery of the Audi version of Mark and any version of Mark holding and helping each other. Now, this could hint at reintegration, as both of them are trying to get out of this, or it might simply mean his Audi and Innie will be working more closely together, possibly pulling a Peg Kincaid situation. Now, finally, let's talk about Helly. I think one of the viewers of the previous video pointed it out very well. I'm gonna include the comment right here, is that it's not a surprise that Helly is Helena, but I still have a few questions. Now, in the final moments of season 2, episode 2, we see where Helly is about to get ready to go down to the severed floor. Is she going down as Helena or Helly? And I believe it could go either way here. Now, the reason why I believe it could go either way is because the look on her face. Is she afraid of blowing her cover? Nervous to see Mark because she saw that her Innie and Mark kissed? Or does she simply not want to lose control and let her Innie run wild, doing whatever Helly feels like doing? Now, I am gonna say I do lean more towards the fact that it is Helena down there, but it could be either way. And that's it for this week, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. As always, remember, these are just theories and I could be completely wrong. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I am very curious to see if we all agree, if we all disagree. Whatever your opinion or thought is, let me know. I'm very excited to hear it. And of course, thank you to everyone who took the time of day to watch this video or listen to this video. Praise Kier. Until next time.